You sent me an email recently that was insane. I
I
just say
love it.
it was basically like an advertisement promoting the sugar diet.
The sugar craze.
Tell us about the sugar diet, because this is so antithetical to much of the low carb, keto, carnivore trend that's also going on. Of course, we have to have the simultaneous opposite extreme. So tell me about the sugar diet.
I think that's why I sent it to you too, is because here we are in the middle preaching boring old moderation, but this thing acting like it's a craze, it's just basic science. And it's so funny to me because it's in direct juxtaposition to the carbs will kill you, right? Carbs are what's making everyone so fat. That's the there's a lot of that narrative out there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you come out with a diet where the person eats exclusively carbohydrates and loses a bunch of weight. And just like the carnivore diet, eating only protein and fat, right, has very predictable effects. So does this one. Because at the end of the day, an attempt to blame a singular macronutrient is incorrect.
Red flag.
Yeah. Carbs are bad is not correct. Fats are bad is not correct. They are energy. Our body needs energy. So what happens when you are missing one of them? You end up initiating systems of survival that cause your body to disproportionately use one versus the other.
Yep.
And the way those nutrients, macros, fats, and carbs affect the body are amplified in an obvious way. So just like we'll do the antithesis and then we'll dig into this sugar craze because it'll be a longer ramble. The whole point of a ketogenic diet is to deplete the body of carbohydrates so that it's forced to use fat as its main fuel. It converts fats into ketones so that the brain can utilize ketones as its backup. And that triggers an initial depletion of glycogen, which causes acute weight loss. It does it does force the body to burn more fat, which means in theory, assuming there's a caloric deficit, the fat depletion is easier, essentially.
The reason why fat burning and fat loss is not the same thing.
Well said. Yes, exactly.
Fat burning just means you're using fat as a fuel source potentially as opposed to carbohydrates.
Yeah. The ultimate question comes down to whether you're in a ketogenic state burning 100% of fat as your energy, or whether you're in a properly balanced fed state, you're burning 40% fat as energy. The ultimate question is, are you eating the amount that you're burning, or are you eating more than you're burning, or are you eating less than you're burning? And we can simplify that by saying calories in, calories out, or we can break it down with bioenergetics and say your body burns a certain amount of carbs and fats per day based on activity and reality. Mm-hmm. And we can either give you too much of one, too much of both, not enough of one, not enough of both. And that is going to have very predictable consequences. So just like keto creates a depletion of glycogen, which causes rapid weight loss, causes leptin to basically calm down, which drives a satiety so people don't feel as hungry. These are downstream consequences that then 6 months later slow metabolism, because as leptin gets lower and lower, and so that lack of hunger is literally a result, essentially a side effect of your metabolism slowing down because you're relying on your backup generator. Mm-hmm. So that is what happens on that side. Carbohydrates spike leptin. So carbohydrates drive basically the leptin ghrelin system that is hunger and fullness. But when it spikes leptin, it makes a disproportionate reality where it can actually stimulate metabolism and then as a result stimulates hunger. So carbohydrates do spike your appetite, mm-hmm. which is not inherently a bad thing. That's not saying like carbs make you fat because they make you hungry. It's like, no, carbs drive your appetite system. So we want to recognize that if you only eat carbohydrates, one, your body is immediately lacking in protein and fats, both of which are essential to human flourishing. Protein is our building block. Fat is the baseline. It's actually a building block and also a cofactor and coenzyme for hormone production. We need those nutrients. So to be without them puts your body in a state of survival. Mm-hmm. And so then you eat a whole bunch of carbohydrates, and the things that slow digestion down and regulate the balance of appetite on the seesaw that is hunger and fullness go away. And your body's metabolism, in an attempt to try and catch up and basically survive, starts going nuts. Mm-hmm. And there was a study, I want to say it was in 2019 maybe 2012 or 2013. It was before my master's. And I did a project on it in my one class. It was my research methodology class. But long story short, it studied the observation that when you gave people only carbohydrates, they reported hunger at obscene calorie levels, but they also didn't gain weight as you would expect. And the study in particular, it had one of the groups was eating over 13,000 calories a day because of reported hunger cues. So they were just carbs only, just going nuts, just eating and eating and eating and eating and eating. And they could not get full, but also over the 6 months, there was an expectation that they were going to gain like somewhere around like 50 pounds and they gained like 8.
It sounds like me when I'm like training for a marathon.
Yeah, exactly. You're insatiable.
Eating and eating and eating.
So all to come full circle, this sugar crazed diet is the observation that if you only eat carbohydrates, you will lose weight. And it's like, well, yes, one, you have no protein, which means your protein malnutrition is going to start. You're going to start breaking down. You're not going to have optimized tissue protection is what I'll say there. 2, you don't have adequate fats, which means there's other hormonal systems that are going to start to be affected. 3, the presence of carbohydrates does spike metabolic rate in a pretty meaningful way. So you can eat a whole bunch of food, carbohydrates specifically, and yes, your body will lose weight. But is it, that's true, but is it relevant? It's one of my favorite phrases I've been telling you about recently.
Yeah.
Is it true that that can happen? Yes. Is it relevant to you and human flourishing? No. Is it relevant to your health journey? No, it's not health. It's just science. We tend to see these fringes of things like, wow, if I eat only meat, I can still survive. And these things happen. It's like, cool, that's interesting. Oh, I only eat carbohydrates and this happens. Oh, that's interesting. What can we learn from those things is not, oh, this is how I should be eating. We're basically just seeing what happens at the extremes so that we can come to the middle and recognize that there is a reason why some degree of carbohydrate is valuable. It is the antithesis to fat in the leptin ghrelin spike that is hunger and fullness. So having enough carbohydrates and enough fats with each other is going to drive appropriate hunger and appropriate fullness. If we do them in the right quantities, we will also have an energy adequacy that will allow us to either gain weight, maintain weight, or lose weight. And so these edges, it's not new information. Like I said, I'm citing a study from 13 years ago that we already know this. In the world of bioenergetics, we understand what the body does when carbohydrates are exclusively present, and we understand what happens when only fats or only proteins are exclusively present. People finding this and making it common knowledge and then turning it into a diet is a ridiculous distraction from reality.
Diet culture at its peak.
Yeah.
We've really lost the plot.
Yes, you're missing the entire point. Can we also for a moment think about what a 100% carbohydrate diet is?
It's literally just sugar.
Like bread has protein.
It's very
grains have protein.
Your diet is drinking syrup, basically.
I mean, we could make an argument for fruit because the protein is nominal, but it's literally pure sugar is what you're consuming.
It's like the keto diet. Like if the true ketogenic diet is also like mainly like heavy cream and butter.
Yeah,
like
it's 80% fat, and you go, we start to hear like, I hope you can hear that this doesn't get you very far. Right, there's no longevity in this. It's like, yeah, so I'm just going to pop sweet tarts and Twizzler ropes and nerds until I die. Or like you said, I'm going to put butter on everything. You know what this hunk of steak needs? Butter. You start to recognize that, yes, the studying of energy and, again, bioenergetics, which is basically the utilization of fats and carbs, I find fascinating, and we can nerd out about it. And as you know, I mean, something that we do that people don't realize is we can actually break down how much carbohydrate and fat someone burns in a day given activity to a scary level of accuracy. Observing the fringes, which is what happens when only one macronutrient is present, is interesting to show the importance of that one, but also the importance of the other ones. And that becomes the game. Is if you're someone who's actually doing this because you're trying to lose a quick 10 pounds, that is coming right back because you are breaking your physiology by doing this. You are pushing your body to an extreme that is not sustainable. And so you are getting results from something that is not rooted in habit or routine. You are creating a short-term temporary outcome from a short-term temporary input, and it is not to your greater good. And so step back and go, why are you trying to lose the 10? And is is that actually connected? said another way. Is it worth abandoning your goal of health on your health journey?
Yeah.
At some point, that becomes that game where people
Where
are
health and
trying to be
aesthetics may
healthier.
diverge.
Yeah, they're trying to be healthier. And for a lot of people, the habits they would live to be healthier would cause weight loss, because a lot of people do carry extra weight because they're not living optimally. So weight loss is commonly correlated with health. But somewhere along the way, people forget that the goal is health, and they think the goal is actually just weight loss. They focus on that outcome, the scale going down instead of the scale going down as a side effect of supporting myself better. It's the scale going down by any means necessary. This is another example of by any means necessary. It's, I'm going to manipulate a very predictable biologic system and cause it to do something temporary. And then you go, why? If the answer is because in the name of science, cool, go nuts. But if it's rooted in anything about your health and well-being, run. This is stupid. It makes no sense to do it. Let the nerds nerd, let the science, but that doesn't mean you need to destroy your life.
You do not need to be a science experiment.
Yeah. And that's coming from a guinea pig. You know me,
Yeah,
I love the
used
science.
To, try different diets out in college too, just out of curiosity to how my body would respond. And those days
notice
are
where
long
that
over.
comes from? Curiosity of how the body responds. That is you being a scientist. If that's where this comes from, yes, you will find that short-term periods of only carbohydrate consumption drive ridiculous hypermetabolic realities. Your basal metabolic rate can more than double. And so it'll blow your mind. You'll be eating thousands and thousands of calories a day and not getting full, and also not skyrocketing on the scale like you'd expect.
We could hear how that would be appealing, but in practice, it's not fun.
It's true, but is it relevant? Is it meaningful? It goes back to us as mediators of information. Great. What are we going to do with this information?
Yeah.
Can we come back around and maybe say that with this information, we've proven that maybe carbs aren't the devil? That's what I'd love to come back around on and say, oh, what do you know? The same things that the low carb advocates are touting has similar truths from the carb only. So can we recognize that maybe our association of carbohydrate increases in our diet alongside obesity means that the carbohydrate isn't actually the problem? And can we zoom out a little bit and recognize that our attempt to demonize any macronutrient has failed miserably, because it's not a problem of the macronutrient, it's a higher level problem of total energy intake. We're sitting here. We know that the average American consumes 3,600 calories a day, takes like 3,000 steps a day, which means the average American burns under 2,500 a day. So the average human in the United States eats 1,000 more calories a day than they need. And we have the idea that we need to then go, oh, well, it's got to be carbohydrates or it's got to be fats. It's an overabundance of both.
It would be so easy to just demonize one thing, because that would make our lives so much simpler and easier. And that is like the classic psychological phenomenon of black and white thinking. And unfortunately, the world is not like that.
Remember when we were meeting the other day and I shared with you the phrase simplicity has consequences? That.
Oversimplifying everything.
When we oversimplify things, it has consequences.
What I hear this sugar diet is like, we're taking a true physiological phenomenon of the increased metabolic rate associated with increased carbohydrate intake, and we are jumping to massive conclusions.
We are extrapolating.
Extrapolating that to make it something that is no longer relevant or helpful to us.
Yes, it's true, but is it relevant?
Yeah.
And that's us as mediators. The whole point of this podcast is to bring people to have the conversation and meet in the middle. Is what do I want people to take away from this? And it's that carbs alone are not the problem. So for every person out there that thinks that carbs make them fat, you have a profound misunderstanding of biology and of science.
Yep. It's like the midwit, like, just enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know what carbohydrates are, and you know that they can increase appetite. So it's like, now it's like we're demonizing carbs. It's like we were talking about this the other day, the Dunning-Kruger effect, right? Like there is a point at which you know a little, and it can sometimes work to your detriment because you think that you know a lot. But I love that concept of the midwit. There's like the person who knows almost nothing, and like, let's say as it pertains to nutrition in this case, be like, eat protein, lift weights, end of story. And then on the other end of the spectrum, you have like the really wise person that's like, yeah, you need to lift weights and eat protein and eat, the appropriate number of calories. And then in the middle, you have the midwit who's like trying to biohack your energetics. And
at 4:36 a.m., I plunge into a bath of 38 degrees for 30 seconds, and I alternate that with red light sauna. And then shortly after that, I drink exactly 32 ounces of water, no more, no less. It's
And
like,
that person
dude,
is working way harder than they need to.
you're missing the major things. You're majoring in the minor things, and you're taking them way too seriously.
You probably need to get a life. Sorry.
Yeah.
I said it.
Said what you said, meant what you meant, did what you did.
So sugar diet. Anything else?
No, I think that's a fun
that
one.
wraps it up.
I think the actionable dietitian in me just says, hey, can we use this science as evidence that carbohydrates are not the spawn of Satan? They are not killing you. They are not inherently good or bad. They are energy, and how you choose to balance your energy systems is a whole different conversation. So this is fun, useful, nerdy information, but not an all call to start pounding nerd ropes and calling it diet, calling it nutrition.
Disclaimer, we are not sponsored by Big Carb.
We are not by Big Carb.
But we do like them.
We are not sponsored by Big Carb. I like that.